But this is a Christmas gig, and I'm not very religious, but when it comes to religions, I think Christianity is the best one. That's not the funny part, but okay. How do I know? Because non-Christians come to Christian countries and talk crap about Christianity, and nothing happens to them. It's just incredible. It doesn't sound right? It doesn't happen the other way around anywhere in the world, right? It's almost as if Christianity is the religion of peace. But we can't say that, obviously, because those other guys have already claimed it. It's a patent pending situation. So this guy goes to the patent office. Hello, I would like to register Islam as the religion of peace. Sir, we've got a monthly promotion this month. So if you patent 5 things simultaneously, there's a big discount. Okay, in that case, I would like to patent driving trucks into Christmas markets, flying planes into skyscrapers, shooting down French cartoonists in their office, shooting down Israeli athletes in the Olympic Village, and Islam as the religion of peace.
Barbra Streisand is the absolute best. She's the best actress in all history.
Have you seen Yentl? Oy vey.
You're entitled to your opinion. Sigmund Freud's theories are outdated.
Oh, yeah? Well then, explain penis envy, especially lately. Why did Mel Brooks have so much money to make all those movies?
I don't know.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, fellow human earthling beings. Kafir Goy Gaijin et al. All right, we've got our special guest treat for me today. Without further ado, hello, Hayden. How are you?
I'm doing good, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for being here. Yeah, it's not easy for people to come up on stage and share their piece. So I greatly appreciate you being bold enough to do that, especially with a loon like me.
You got it. It's all good.
All right. So yeah, today we're going to take a little look at St. Patrick's Day. What is it? How do we celebrate it? Who celebrates it? Who is St. Patrick? And, that kind of thing. I did want to cover some things that I was originally planning on covering this Wednesday, our next watch party. But, I have the tendency to pile on a lot of things in one stream. So this gave me the opportunity to, cover some of those things today instead, make a lighter load in a couple of days, but also take advantage of an expiring StreamYard subscription. To that end, let me do my little shameful shilling here, and ask you guys if you have, let's say, willing to spend up to the price of a sandwich to help me keep this live stream momentum going. My current annual subscription ends April 8th, and I just cannot afford to renew it. I can literally not afford to stay alive at this point. As I was saying to Hayden here, I'm behind on my electric bill a couple of months. I don't even know if the power's going to cut off any minute. So, so I'm reaching out to you guys. If you have some money to burn, like I said, there's 3 different levels, as I say, 3 different options you can choose from. As little as like a cup of coffee, as I say, to something like an article of clothing. The top tier, if I can get like about 3, basically I'm looking to raise about a couple $100. I already had a couple people contribute, 1 low tier, 1 mid tier, which I greatly appreciate. If I can get like a couple dozen more low tiers, or a dozen mid tiers, or just 2 or 3 top tiers, then I will be able to continue streaming. Otherwise, I definitely won't be able to do the watch parties anymore. Another thing, I'll probably just go back to doing edited videos, and that would be at the rate of 1 to 2 a month, because they're so time consuming. But we'll see. As God so wills, as I say, pray for me either way. And again, if you can share, great. If you can contribute, awesome. But please at least share. The link is in the chat. I'm putting the Patreon in the chat right now. And again, forgive me for this shilling moment, but it's necessary, or arguably necessary. I mean, it's not completely necessary that I continue this live streaming, but again, it's my opportunity to do my part, to do my tithing, to give back, as I say. So that's why I'm so passionate and dedicated to it. At any rate, as God so wills, we'll see. Okay, so let's get into it. What you see in the background here, and let me take us, actually, I don't even need to do that. Let me show you guys this way. Okay, so here we have 3 icons of St. Patrick. I can't honestly tell you who wrote these icons, who made them, or who, where they're from, when they were made, the date. So I don't have no background information on each, but they're quite intriguing. As you see, the first one says St. Patrick, the Enlightener of Ireland, the Enlightener of Ireland. I find that very intriguing. That's the first time I've actually seen that title for him, even though I've been to a website and it calls him the Enlightener as well, and we'll get to that. The middle one is actually Russian. I don't speak Russian, but similar to Greek, of course, it's a Cyrillic language. Russian language was actually literally invented by Greeks for the sake of spreading the gospel. Little newsflash: the West didn't invent that. All right, so that, and I could be wrong. If anyone speaks or reads Russian, let me know. But that looks to say Sveti Petrik. So I could be wrong there. Correct me if anyone who speaks or reads Russian. Please let me know if that's incorrect. And again, if you feel like you want to join a panel, the link to join a panel is also in chat. Feel free to do that as well at any point. And so the third one is a Greek one. Aios, holy, or Saint Patrick, as we say, saint in the West. Really, it's more like holy Patrick. So, evidently, I mean, we can see, at least in the kind of iconography, he's celebrated in Orthodoxy as well, the original Christian church, but also across jurisdictions. But let's take a look at here. In the United States, for example, you'll see rivers in Savannah, Georgia, they'll actually paint the river green. And here's a water fountain. This is a water fountain, Savannah, Georgia. You kind of get the nice music, by the way, huh? Yeah, makes me want to do the jig. Yeah, but they also do the river, Savannah, Georgia. I don't know if they still do it or not. Now here's an image from. Let me make sure you guys can see it. Yep, this is from Chicago, actually. Okay, and I have the volume off because I don't want a copyright strike. But that's pretty intense. The entire river running through the city of Chicago is painted green today. With former Mayor Richard Daley, you can imagine what his ethnic background is. He wanted to dye the Lake Michigan, but they settled for the river instead. All right, so you can see, I mean, this is pretty intense. And we know, those of us that are from the States or raised there, whatever the case may be, we know how we celebrate St. Patrick's Day in the West. How do we celebrate St. Patrick's Day in the West? Well, let me defer to our guest here. How do you celebrate, or how have you celebrated St. Patrick's Day in the West yourself?
For me personally, growing up in Minnesota, I was in a small town, and I think across the board, it's just wearing green, yeah, decorating a little bit. A lot of people will just use it as an excuse to day drink, unfortunately, but and you know, if you have
To
Irish hair, it's mainly those with Irish heritage
Okay.
and those without, but yeah.
All right, so I got to admit, you use an expression I'm not familiar with. To day drink. What is that?
Day drinking is drinking before the evening, so like
Ah, to
after
day
the
drink.
after day drink, yeah.
Okay, all right. That's pretty fun. Okay, all right. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, in other words, it's a pretty big day or opportunity to get your party out, to just let it all hang out all day.
No, exactly, yeah.
I got you. Okay, yeah, that's very true. I mean, that's the way it was in my neck of the woods as well. And of course, Boston. I mean, it doesn't get much more Irish. I mean, it's multicultural to say Boston for sure, but it's known to be as an Irish community for whatever reason. Maybe because the Irish were bombing people for not being Irish and moving into their neighborhood not that long ago. And if you're thinking I'm talking about Muslims or blacks or black white thing, no, it was the Irish bombing the Italians or the Greeks or anybody who wasn't Irish, and you moved to their neighborhood in South Boston, the Southie. You were a dead man. So, and
I heard, I might be wrong, but I heard in history class at least, growing up, they taught us that the first Irish immigrants to the US were seen on like they were seen as the same as like slaves from Africa. Like
yeah,
they used to call them monkeys, and like even though they were European immigrants, like there was a lot of fighting between different groups, unfortunately.
yeah, that's very true. And I'll probably be able to find it while you're talking about it. But any guesses as to why that might be? Why were the Irish treated that way in a a colonial European nation?
I think early on in America, like the country was founded by Anglo-Saxons and North Germanic Europeans, so they were kind of like I heard even up until like the 60s or 50s maybe Mediterranean Europeans in the US were not seen as white people.
Mm.
So there was I don't know, that opens kind of a can of worms, but
Well,
yeah.
that's why I'm here, to open up cans of worms. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, the United States is kind of a messed up place when it comes to cultural identity anyway.
Mm. Yeah, and so what we're looking at here is just a quick search engine on Catholic immigration, early early, what is it, 18th century. I can't say if that's actually, it's probably, yeah, that would be more 19th century immigration of Catholics. Um, and so this is a newspaper image of the Catholics invading. Basically, you see them being portrayed as Pope-like crocodiles coming to invade America. This was a newspaper in the U.S. So Catholics were hated on. This is not a new innovation. It's not a 21st century thing that the Pope is evil kind of thing. It goes way back. This war between the Protestants and Catholics. So yeah. Let me go back to this. That being said, now that we've opened that can of worms. All right. So here we go. Let's read a little bit about St. Patrick. St. Patrick's Day observed on March 17th. Make sure you guys are seeing that. Yeah, okay. Transition from a feast day in Ireland to a widely celebrated holiday in the United States. The holiday commemorates St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland, who is credited with bringing Christianity to the country in the 5th century. So that goes way back. Although rooted in religious tradition, St. Patrick Day celebrations have evolved into largely secular events marked by parades, parties, and Irish-themed festivities. Irish-themed. Getting sloshed. All right. What do you know about St. Patrick? Hey, forgive me for putting you in a spot all the time, but I'm kind of curious. Are you familiar with his story?
Yeah, I've read his life. I don't remember it word for word, but what I do remember is I believe he was originally from somewhere in England or outside of Ireland, and he was taken very young as a slave.
Hmm.
I want to say by I don't know by who, but and just eventually he was converted to Christ, and I guess, in Ireland they were pagans back then, so he helped bring the Christian faith to them and performed a lot of miracles, and that's the basics I know about it. Maybe you know more.
No, that pretty much nails it. There's also the legend of the snakes. Have you ever heard anything about that?
I don't know that off the top of my head, no.
Yeah. I mean, this one is something that not a lot of sources talk about, but there are sources that talk about how he drove serpents off the island of Ireland, and therefore there were no serpents with his staff or something to that effect. But basically, um, serpents were terrified by his presence. So, is the gist of
I
that.
do remember hearing something about that now that you mention it.
Yeah.
Do you know any more of any other miracles that he's attributed to doing?
I wish I could. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't do a very deep dive on him, to be honest with you. So I didn't look into that. But that's the only one I remember.
Something interesting that I have heard about early Celtic Christianity is it was more influenced by the Eastern Church rather than the customs of the Latin Church. I don't know if you've heard anything about that.
No, maybe something to that effect a little bit in the research I did for this. Yeah, alluded a little bit to that, but not explicitly that. So yeah, that sounds intriguing too. I mean, it's interesting how Orthodoxy, as you said, they use the term Eastern Orthodoxy a lot, which I'm a little at odds with, but um, because that opens the door for the giving credibility to the Western Rite, which I don't know very little about. I just recently came into contact with the Western Rite
Oh,
online.
really?
Yeah, are you familiar with them?
Yeah, I've known about them for a while. There's a few, it's mainly in the diaspora because it's mainly from what I've heard, there's been groups like ex-Catholic priests and whole churches where they come into contact with Orthodoxy and they realize, we like this church, but at the same time, the Western Christianity, we used to be one together, so how can we just go back to our roots before the schism? And so they've tried to kind of recreate in an almost an artificial way the rites and the rituals and the liturgy that would have been in use before 1054 when we split up.
Mm. Yeah,
There was
honestly,
actually,
Mhm.
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I cut you off. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, actually, in my one of the first parishes that I kind of grew up in to Orthodoxy, there was a ex-Roman Catholic priest that would sometimes celebrate. He became ordained in Orthodox Church after converting, and he would celebrate the Western liturgy privately in his home chapel where he lived. So I got
Mm.
to attend that one time. It was interesting.
Do you happen to remember? Yeah, I mean, this is like all new to me. Like I said, only to me, it was I saw an interview with a Western Rite Orthodox priest who started saying some things. At first, I was like, okay, cool, Orthodox priest, Western Rite, what is that? And then he started saying some things like, whoa, the alarm started going off. And that was my first contact with him. But since then, because of that, I'm like, okay, now I'm on alert. What is this Western Rite stuff? I haven't looked into it yet.
Yeah, I think the only jurisdictions that have canonical Western Rite churches are the Antiochians and the Russian church outside of Russia.
Roker, okay.
Yeah.
This is starting to make a lot of sense now. And I got to say, I love the Antiochians in my experiences. I've had great experience with Antiochians in America. So, except for one experience, there was one church that I actually took my parents and a good friend. We They were going to a different parish close by to a parish that was being not this. I can't remember the word now, but basically they were blessing the altar. Um, and so yeah, basically, we heard about the ceremony. I took my friend and family, parents, there, all excited. Again, at that point, I loved Antiochians. All the Antiochians I interacted with were all converts to Orthodoxy, and they chose the Antiochian jurisdiction for whatever reason, even though they were American. But at any rate, good experiences. And then I went to that parish, and I'm all excited to share that with them, and how great these people are, and I'm building it up. And we get there, and it's like pretty much a 99% Arabs, and they're all giving us a stink eye and won't even talk to us and treating us like lepers throughout this entire ceremony. And then they had the meal afterwards, and they're just like, giving us again the stink eye. What are you even doing here? It's like, man, this is embarrassing. This is bad. So it was really bad experience. Thankfully, there was some Bulgarians there, and of all people, Bulgarians came to the Greeks to make us feel welcome. So that was good. Go figure that one out. But anyways, yeah, I gotta say I love the Antiochians regardless, even though they're one experience.
Yeah, the Antiochian church seems to be the most inclusive like that in the Western kind of church with Orthodoxy. Like there's one in my state, and it's kind of strange because there's a pretty good sized community of Ethiopian Orthodox Christians in Minnesota, and
Cool.
they don't really have, for the longest time they didn't have a church to go to, so they just started going to the Antiochian church down the road. And eventually the hierarchs came to the decision. They said, well, they pretty much believe what we believe, but we're not in formal communion. So they basically told them, as long as you stay with the Orthodox Church and you recite our creed and do practice how we do, you don't have to be rebaptized or anything. Just you can receive communion.
Cool. Yeah, and there are actually other people that I really enjoy in my experiences. That is the Ethiopians. Um, yeah, and that's really cool. Now that you're on that subject, talking about economia, this whole thing about there's the canons, which is a canon law, church law, not so much liturgical canon. It's a little different, but the canon law is something that it is law, but even within that law, there's economia. the thing where, well, in special cases, there's exception. Kind of, I mean, for those that are Bible only, it's in essence also biblical. I mean, looking at Jesus Christ, some people look at this parables, examples for eating corn with unclean hands on the Sabbath. That doesn't belong to you, if I understood the story correctly. I mean, some people will interpret that as a deviation from, but it's not a contradiction from Old Testament. It's Jesus Christ time and again saying, grow up. So don't be zealous to the degree where you're doing the following the law that it becomes detrimental when a situation arises that you have to break that law for the good of others. I mean, so that's my understanding of that, and that's what economia is about. You know, there was a special situation, as you described, where there was an entire community of people that wanted to be part of the faith, and you don't, make them, you don't alienate them, and have them denounce their baptism and so on. He practiced economia in that case and said, okay, you know what? As long as you're a practicing Orthodox proper, then you're welcome. And that sounds cool to me. Yeah, I'm getting a little orthodoxy here, but that's cool. So yeah, St. Patrick. St. Patrick's Day in Memphis, they also have Irish community there. I'm going to share this link for you guys. This is USA Today, so it's arguably a credible source. But this is not really what I wanted to focus on. Let me get to this next thing here. Okay. I just wanted mostly to see you guys to see these bullet points and the Chicago River painted green and how St. Patrick's Day is being celebrated in the West. In essence, how the Westerners do it, or especially Americans, however we do things, that kind of culture is what spreads throughout the world. So now, through those practices, the world recognizes St. Patrick's Day and the celebration in that way, which is a secular way. And as far as this whole green thing, I mentioned that too in the description. This whole idea where you got to wear green for good luck, and if you don't, I don't know about your neck of the woods, Hayden, but for me, if you didn't wear green, you would get pinched. There would be penalty for not wearing green. So, is that true for you too?
I not really to that extent, but we did. A lot of people would say or wear T-shirts that would say "Pinch me, I'm Irish," and then
There you
they
go.
get pinched.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so for me, it was the opposite. If you didn't wear your green, you were in trouble. All right, so yeah, there you go. As let me see. A wise man once said.
There you go. There you go. So there you go.
All right. Okay. Let's go on to the next thing. Okay. So this one is a discussion on how Protestants. I mean, is St. Patrick's Day a Protestant holiday? I mean, we know obviously St. Patrick. We mentioned that is from the 4th century early church. Or St. Patrick himself, I should say, is from the 4th century. The celebration comes in a little later. We'll take a little look at that too. But given that it's the early church, there was not even a schism yet. The schism happened a little later, around 1000 AD, give or take, maybe a little later, depending on what you're talking about. So yeah, it was still Christianity. Was still Christianity. It wasn't even called Christianity back then. It's called the faith. And so therefore, you would think that St. Patrick's, post-schism, is a Catholic concept since it's a saint. But in fact, we'll see that Protestants not only celebrate it as a secular holiday, but they also originally have it part of their tradition as well, arguably. I know we have all these different factions and so on and so forth, But arguably, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Anglican Church was officially the first non-Catholic rebelling church, or was it somebody else? I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm not much of a theologian here, but okay. So Protestants celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Yes, Protestants do celebrate St. Patrick's Day. While the holiday is often associated with Irish Catholic traditions, Protestants also honor and celebrate. It is recognized, celebrated as Anglican Protestant tradition. Okay, so the majority of the Irish Protestant faith. All right, but they're Catholic. Oh, here's a kicker. So, as we know it, they're supposed to be wearing green, right? But here it says Protestants wear orange traditionally on St. Patrick's Day. To honor William of Orange. Are you guys familiar with this? This is the first time I heard of this.
That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. And I'm going to argue this is a credible source. But maybe not. I mean, it's North Carolina. What is it? It's some kind of economic something corporation. I forgot, but it's not a corporation, but it sounded like a government agency. It's not a .gov, it's .com. But the NCESC sounded economic something. Let me look that up, actually. I should have that for you guys. NC.
There's an About Us section on there too, it looks like.
Okay. North Carolina Division. Oh, there it is. I found it. DES. North Carolina Division of Employment Security. All right. So let me share this so you guys can see it for yourselves. North Carolina Division of Employment Security. So, I mean, it sounds very much like a government agency, even though it's .com. So it's arguably credible information. Arguably. Yeah, but they're claiming that it was based on William of Orange, and traditionally they were orange. Was Ireland originally Catholic? Well, we all know. I mean, so they're saying while Britain was Protestant, most of the Irish population was Catholic. There was historically been a deep-seated cultural and religious divide between Catholic Protestants in Ireland, but we're talking about almost a millennia later, when St. Patrick himself brought Christianity to the island. At that point, I mean, we're talking, it was, as we said, it wasn't even called Christianity at that point. I don't think. I could be wrong with it. Well, actually, yeah, maybe it was. At that point it was. I'll take that back. I think I'm thinking about Roman judicial documents and how they were referred to then. Maybe that's when the title Christian came about. Honestly, don't know. I should look into that. I'll look into that, but not during the stream. Yeah, technically St. Patrick is a Christian religious figure, so Christians are encouraged to celebrate and honor him. We got that. Is St. Patrick's Day for everyone? Yes. Why do Americans celebrate St. Patrick's Day? The celebration of St. Patrick's Day in America can be attributed to the significant Irish immigrant population in the country. It's significant. It has become a way for Irish Americans to connect with their heritage and share cultural traditions with others. If you're not Irish, of course you can. What countries don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day? It basically restates which countries do. So officially, it's recognized as a holiday in Ireland, Northern Ireland, Newfoundland, that's Canada, Caribbean island of Montserrat, and that's it. So it's official holiday in those countries, but everywhere else, you can celebrate if you want, and many nations do, if not all. Well, not all, but yeah, I can't imagine people of Republic of Congo are celebrating St. Patrick's Day. But maybe some. Maybe the Catholics there, some Protestants. I don't know. I could be wrong. Do Christians wear orange on St. Patrick's Day? Some Christians, particularly Protestants, choose to wear orange on St. Patrick's Day to honor the Protestant heritage and the connection of William the Orange. Again, this is the first I'm hearing of William the Orange. He's a guy who invaded the island, so I find that intriguing. We should look into who William the Orange is, actually. Let's do a wiki. Let me do a wiki real quick. William of Orange. Wiki. William of Orange.
I'm having a connection issue. I'm gonna refresh the app.
All right. Okay, so William of Orange, according to Wiki, whatever that's worth. I'm becoming glorious revolution. Here we go. Invasion of England. William at first opposed the prospect of invasion, but most historians now agree that he began to assemble the expeditionary force in April 1688 as it became increasingly clear that France would remain occupied by campaigns in Germany. All right. I don't know which one. Okay. Is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, I'm going to remove the other one. What happened? Okay, delete. Okay, we're good. All right. Yeah, so he's some dude. Let's see. France were occupied by campaign in Germany and Italy, and thus unable to mount an attack, while William's troops would be occupied in Britain. Excuse me. Believing that English people would not react well to a foreign invader, he demanded a letter to Rear Admiral Arthur, the most eminent English Protestants, first invite him to invade. Okay. And Drew and Mary of Modena, again, this is Wikipedia, this is really weird. After a string of miscarriages, gave birth to a son, a Stuart, who displaced William's Protestant wife to become first in the line of succession and raised the prospect of ongoing Catholic monarchy. Man, are Catholics really historically this bad, or is there just bias toward them? I don't know. Public angles are increased because of the trial. Again, I'm Orthodox, but I keep finding myself wanting to be an apologist for Catholics because I keep hearing all this Catholic bashing. I don't know how to feel about that. All right, so anyways, we get the idea. Let's go back to this article here. Can Christians have meats on St. Patrick's Day? Because basically, just so you'll know, if you're Catholic or Orthodox, Lent starts, and so you follow certain dietary rules. Excludes meat. So they're saying there's some concessions made on that day. Whatever. Again, economia there.
Where you're from, Nick, would they eat Reuben sandwiches on St. Patrick's Day?
That's a good question. Good question. You got me there. All right. Why isn't Ireland Protestant? Ireland has historically had a strong Catholic majority. After the establishment of the Irish Free State, the Protestant population declined due to various factors, including the end of the union between Ireland and Great Britain and the purchase of land owned by British landowners. Interesting. Okay. Why are Irish Protestants called Orangemen? Irish Protestants are often called Orangemen because of their association with William of Orange. William of Orange was a Protestant king who played a significant role in Irish history, and his followers became known as Orangemen. The name is derived from the Orange Order, a Protestant fraternal organization associated with Irish Protestant heritage. So is this where the label the Enlightener comes from? I gotta wonder where that came from. Was St. Patrick Catholic or Protestant? St. Patrick, okay, we already said it wasn't a Catholic or Protestant. It was just the faith. Are there Protestants in Ireland? Yes, there is a Protestant community in Ireland, while Catholicism is, okay, blah, blah, blah. What did William of Orange do to Ireland? William of Orange, a Protestant king, played a significant role in history. In 1689, his armies landed in Ireland and fought against Catholic forces in the Williamite War. His victory at the Battle of Boyne, sorry, I don't have a thing for that, in 1690 had a lasting impact on the religious and political landscape of Ireland. Oh, I've got one for that. If I can find it. I've got like 100 assets here. Good gravy. Wow. I'm still scrolling to find it. I need to upgrade my studio stat. Oh wow, I can't even see it. That's embarrassing. Talk about a rookie.
Tell us about the three-leaf clover that he's holding.
Yeah, good one. The good luck thing. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's in one of the readings, but yeah, since you brought it up, where in the heck is it, man? I'm not frustrated. I can't find my friggin' asset. Wow, this is stupid. Stupid. I'm just, you see, I get stubborn in my goals. I feels like I might have deleted it. I can't find it. This is so frustrating. Here we go. This is what I'm doing right now.
It's like going on a date with a chatty Cathy doll. I expect you to have a little string on your chest, you know, that I pull out and have to snap back. Except I wouldn't pull it out and snap it back. You would.
Oh, this is what I was looking for 15 minutes.
Do you think so?
You know, I've been thinking.
It was in response to this. Gideon Layson. Had a last, anyways. All right. So the three-leaf clover. Wow, that was definitely not worth it. I've got to work on. I mean, I may not even. By the time I get the stuff right, my subscription will be over, and I'll stop live streaming anyway. That's how that works. All right. So your three-leaf clover. Hey Heather, happy St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, man. Like, since you brought it up, I mean, I know the idea behind it, and yeah, if you don't mind, since you brought it up, would you like to speak to it? Like, why the three-leaf clover is significant as according to St. Patrick?
My understanding is St. Patrick to teach the doctrine of the Trinity and to illustrate it to the common people. He used the image, the symbolism of a three-leaf clover that's one, leaf or piece of a plant, but with three parts, like the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, united in one divinity, divine essence.
Okay. Yeah, so the three parts are, and I didn't get into an in-depth description on his analogy. I'm getting into it because I have there's some Christian apologists who are against using analogies from early church fathers, especially John of Damascus, when they're addressing the Trinity, the challenges of the Trinity, and they pretend like they don't get it, or maybe they don't. Just whatever. Willful stupidity there, but St. John's Damascus's analogy of the sun to me is brilliant, but they refuse to use it, and that really frustrates me. But instead, they'll make arguments like, well, analogies, they could be torn apart and argued against. They don't always work. They fall apart. Okay, but then those same people will turn around and use their own analogies for the Trinity. Gideon Layson. But yeah, the sun analogy. I mean, we're talking about mass, heat, and light. The sun being three distinct, let's say, entities, but all in one. They are in union with each other. They're not separate from each other. So the plant there, the three-leaf clover, how is that representing? What are the three different parts to the three-leaf clover that represent? Is it similar to that analogy, or is it different? Are you just saying three leaves and therefore three?
I think it's just as simple as three leaves and therefore three, but united as one in a whole, and what they make up the whole clover. But like you were saying, I mean, there's really no good earthly analogy to
Right.
represent the Trinity, and That's the beautiful thing of Orthodoxy. I personally think is you don't have to understand the Trinity. You will understand the Trinity through experiencing God in the triune worship. It's all about experiencing that grace. And when you know the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, when you know God, then you understand the Trinity. That's the way I look at it, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, I've struggled with that, to be honest with you, this whole thing, and why is it so important for people to express it. But if I say that, if I like, then I'll be going against the church fathers themselves. I mean, the ecumenical councils and their understanding. And when I hear the arguments of both, you've got the Unitarians who like to get online and argue with Trinitarians, and you know, things like atheists, of course, and of course Muslims and so on. So I hear the arguments both ways, and the ones that make the most sense absolutely is the Trinitarian ones. So then there's that. Okay, yeah, it's just a quick couple points. The Scots celebrate, yes, they do. The Italians celebrate, yes. You know, the Catholic thing. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. What is this? So in Catholic Encyclopedia, what do the Catholics have to? And let me share this article I just shared with you guys from the ecumenic, whatever it was. Let me share that in chat. Okay, and in Rumble as well. No need to share William of Orange, as that was a wiki, easily accessible to you. All right, so St. Patrick, according to the Catholic Encyclopedia, and this covers a lot of what you've already said, Hayden. He was Apostle of Ireland, born in Kilpatrick near Dumbarton in Scotland. So he was Scottish. In the year 387, died at Saul, Downpatrick, Ireland, 17 March 493. He had for his parents Calfert. Okay, so his parents were these two people. The former belonged to a Roman family of high rank and held the office of whatever. 16th in his 16th year, Patrick was carried off into captivity by Irish marauders. Now, an earlier source, which I failed to read. Actually, maybe it's coming up. This is significant. Here they clearly express who those are that enslaved them. You had that question before. And a later source, or an earlier source, we'll find out in a minute. But in another source that's Protestant, they made it seem like he was Catholic, the way they worded it, that he was abducted by the Roman Empire. There's a lot of that craftiness going on and needs to stop. Again, I'm not Catholic, and it's a shame I habitually get put in a position to be an apologist for Catholics, because as an Orthodox, I don't necessarily agree with Catholicism either. But the Christian bashing has got to stop. We've got enough evil people in mass media doing plenty of Christian bashing already without Christians bashing into Christians. As Hatun Tash likes to tell the Muslims, get yourself together. Get yourself together and come back. All right. So it was Irish marauders, basically, as you alluded, pagans. And it was sold as a slave to a chieftain named whatever, a territory of present country of Antrim in Ireland, where for 6 years he tended his master's flocks in the valley of Bride Slopes and Slemish. So he was a sheep herder. How fitting. Near the modern town of whatever, he relates to his confession that during his captivity, while tending the flocks, he prayed many times in a day. The love of God, he added. Nice. In the ways of benign providence, 6 years of Patrick's captivity became a remote preparation for his future apostolate. Okay. He acquired a perfect knowledge of the Catholic tongue, in which he would one day announce the glad tidings of redemption. And his master Milchu was a priest. He became familiar with the details of Druidism from whose a Druid priest, not a Catholic priest, whose bondage was destined to liberate the Irish race. Okay. Admonished by an angel after 6 years, fled from his cruel master and bent his steps towards the west. He relates in his confession that he had to travel about 200 miles. Wow. They don't build them like they used to, huh? And his journey was probably toward something bay, onwards, thence westport. He found a ship. All right. This is kind of long-winded. Should I like keep reading or just skip it? What do you think, man?
You can just kind of sight read it, maybe.
Sight read it. Let's go to the next source. It's a little. Let me make sure. Did I share this? I mean, it's a Catholic Encyclopedia Online. But let me go ahead and share it in chat, anyways, for your convenience. Let me do the same in Rumble, and let's move on. Next guy. This one is Anglican Compass. All right. Let's see what the Anglicans have to say. What I consider the original Protestants. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if the Lutherans came first or the Anglicans. I believe it was the Anglicans. I could be wrong. I owe St. Patrick an apology, despite him being my country's patron saint and having celebrated more St. Patrick's days than I can count. I never took him seriously. It didn't help that a joke was going around school when I was young. What did St. Patrick say as he was driving the snakes out of Ireland? There you go. So the Protestants believe that as well. Or maybe at any rate. You boys all right there in the back? He was a saint turned taxi driver for snakes. Ha ha ha. The reason my school had a half day, this guy's got a sense of humor like I do. In the inspiration of the horrible habit of denying Guinness Green and the slogan emblazoned on hundreds of novelty t-shirts. Kiss me, I'm Irish, which you mentioned earlier. Shake shamrocks. Shaker shamrocks? I don't know. And 0% Irish, 100% drunk? I don't get that one either. By the way,
Because
folk,
they just usually drink on St. Patrick's Day.
all right. Okay, the person wearing the t-shirt. All right. Yeah, because I got to say, I've known Irish people like literally from Ireland, just, over in the States for a little bit. Those people, I admire their ability to drink. And that's like a horrible statement to make as a Christian. But let me tell you something. What I witnessed is beyond compare. What I witnessed, with those people interacting with them. I mean, they would have like a job, maybe two. And they would go out after their job, straight to the pub, start drinking, and drink all night, wee hours in the morning, nonstop. Next morning, get up for their job, come in all happy, bright-eyed, chipper, like nothing happened, not hungover. And then next day, the same thing, drinking for hours and hours and hours, day after
That
day.
sounds a lot like what people in Wisconsin do. And Wisconsin is known as it's the drunkest state. Pretty much everybody there is just a functioning alcoholic, kind of like what you're describing in Ireland.
Interesting. And the Wisconsin folk, they're mostly from Northern Europe, right? Or is that wrong?
Yeah, they're mostly like Scandinavian, kind of like Minnesota.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. That's interesting. So now I have to wonder, is that a Scandinavian influence, or is it just because of current circumstances that are just, bad coping strategy?
I think it's just become ingrained in the culture, and I think it's also because it's so cold during the winter. Everybody's stuck inside. They just want to warm up with drinking. Yeah,
Albanians there's a lot of mountains in Albania, and that's one of the things they say. They're very, really big drinkers too, and yeah, they take a drink for everything, including warming up. All right. Let's see. Poor St. Patrick. It's almost unavoidable. What do I want to read from here? I discovered confessions fairly recently. an Irish icon. At 16, the British Patrick was corrupted, taken to Ireland, and enslaved. Escaping 6 years later, a self-described simple country person, St. Patrick had so much faith in God, the Irish, that after becoming a Christian bishop, he returned to the place of his slavery to bring good news to a nation raised on the bloody tales of its warlike heroes, capricious Celtic deities. Yeah, I guess there was a previous link that kind of portrayed it like he was enslaved by Catholics and not pagan Irishmen, which were, originally pagan before St. Patrick brought Christianity to the island. More than 1,000 years later, he deserved recognition as one of the few Irish icons beloved on both sides of the border, since he prepared the Reformation of all of Ireland, embraces our patron saint, bridging. It doesn't say when. My Catholic grandmother. Okay, hold on. I think I might have accidentally deleted out of the wrong one. One of them talks about when St. Patrick's Day was being celebrated in the West, predominantly so. And it mentioned countries and so on. It seemed like it was 16th, 17th century in this country and that country. So even though if you follow Orthodox, if you go to Orthodox services, today there was a reading for St. Patrick. They read all the saints, essentially. Well, not all the saints, but the more prominent ones. Because if you read all the saints, you'll be there all day. There's a lot of saints in the faith. But the most prominent ones, notarized ones, and he's one of them. So that's been going on for a while, the recognition of St. Patrick. But as far as St. Patrick being this major holiday as we know it, it seems to be a later innovation. I wish I could find that. That was in the previous one. My apologies. But let me go and share this link with you guys too, whatever that's worth. And also in Rumble. And let's move on to the next thing. Speaking of which, the Orthodox perspective. And this is OrthoWiki. I could have swore I read an OrthoWiki on St. Patrick years ago. And there was a lot more mentioning of his life, like including the chasing off of serpents. But it's not in this wiki. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if they revised it or if this is just a different wiki or what. At any rate, all right, Patrick of Ireland, our father among the saints, Patrick of Ireland. Oy vey. This stuff I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of fluffy wording like this, to be frank. But whatever, may be blessed. Bishop of whatever, there you go, the Enlightener. They're also in referencing him as the Enlightener as well. Of Ireland, was born as a Briton, captured and brought Scott, all right, whatever. Captured and brought to Ireland as a slave, he escaped and returned home. Later, he returned to Ireland as a missionary. Interesting way of looking at that. Bringing Christianity to its people. Okay, now we're talking. His feast day is March 17th, today. And so they got his life. St. Patrick was born around 390 at Kilpatrick. We already got that. Get rid of this. His name is from the Latin patricius, meaning highborn. His parents were part of the Christian minority of Britain. His father, Calpurnius, was a deacon, the son of Patitus, a priest of the village of Benevam, whatever. At age 16, he was captured. Okay, reigning party, we got it. Taken to Ireland as a slave to herd and tend sheep. During that time, he prayed frequently and became, for the first time, to have a true faith in God. At age 22, he had a vision in which God told him to be prepared to leave Ireland. Second time we heard of that vision. Soon he escaped, walking 200 miles to a ship returning to England. This is pretty much the same thing we read before. In a Catholic, I think it was a Catholic encyclopedia. In a dream, he saw people of Ireland calling him, "We beg you, holy youth, that you shall come and shall walk again among us." St. Patrick sought clerical training. He was ordained by Saint. Okay, this is a good saint. This is Saint wait a minute. Maybe a different one. I'm thinking of a different one. Urmanus, bishop of whatever that is. Around 430, he was ordained a bishop, after which he returned to Ireland. There he preached the gospel, reaching tribal chieftains, gaining their permission to teach the subjects also. That's pretty impressive. Usually, Christians going into pagan lands are slaughtered. That includes China, Japan. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. So that's good that he had such an influence, they were open to his teachings. During his episcopate, he was attacked for a sin he confessed to a close friend, a sin he committed in a single hour when only 15, but he did not suffer as a result. He established an episcopal administration and led to a monastic lifestyle, establishing Christianity in Ireland, St. Patrick, and so on. Confessio, St. Patrick wrote the semi-autobiography as a laborer for God. I'm kind of curious about this. I kind of want to read this now. Explaining the story is probably in a language I can't understand anyways, Celtic. I could be wrong. There's got to be a translated version of it somewhere. I'll look into that. Of his life to inspire others to believe and turn their lives to God. Additionally, he wished to address concerns his fellow clergy had about his holding the office of bishop. So it's kind of one of those things you cannot convert your home, but he did so successfully with pagans. It's quite impressive. All right, so let's move on. Let me share this link. And by the way, I think I have an affinity for this Irish stuff because, I guess my interactions with Ireland, I guess my Bostonian background too, but also, yeah, by the way, I almost worked for the Irish government myself a few years ago. And by the way, I've put in thousands of applications, pretty much worldwide. Of course, the U.S., but also, England. As I mentioned, Ireland. Almost worked for their government there. Didn't make it to the final interview. That's such a shame. I think I would have enjoyed that job. Even South Africa, to give you an idea. Thousands of applications. Have not been able to get things going. So yeah, there you go. That's me in a nutshell. So let's go on to, it looks like we lost Hayden. Bummer. Make sure I've shared this link. Yep, okay. Let me go on to the next thing. Yeah, we don't need this anymore. Okay, now this is me. This is where it gets interesting. It's a shame we lost Hayden because I would have loved to get his feedback. He would have helped keep me grounded during this period here. Here's where I'm going to wag my tongue a little bit. And I'm doing this to get ahead of the game, so to speak. And this is where some Protestants are going to have their aha moment. I know it. To them, I just got quickly, be an adult. Grow up, will you? Grow up. Get real. Get the elephant dung out of your eye before you try to take the mold out of someone else's. So I need to get in front of this, or I feel like I'm compelled to do this, because Orthodoxy is being undermined, has been undermined for, as I've been talking about repeatedly on these channels, has been undermined a lot, especially by Western media. I've talked about Henry Kissinger, particularly the Greeks especially. When it comes to the Russians really hate the Greeks. I mean, I could go on and on about this, and I might do more so. I mean, it's a shame Hayden just left because I really want to have this conversation with him. Maybe it was divine intervention for his sake. Maybe he was saved by the bell, as I say. I don't know. At any rate, so this is me speaking with what was called the Green Bishop. Now, back then, we're talking about late 20th century. He was called the Green Bishop. Back then, that was a good thing. You're a recycler. You care about the planet. You love God's creation. And for me, I'm still green to some degree for the sake of loving God's creation. I love God's creations. And therefore, I will do my part to take care of it. And those of you who are, feel like you're right and you can argue about, recycling and all this, Again, to quote Hatsune, maybe I should do a soundbite of her. Get yourself together, Mr. Muslim. Get yourself together. Grow up. Yeah, we're talking about God's creation. You should love everything, right? So get it together. Stop playing this left-right game. This shenanigans that are not Christ-like. Please, for the love of God, stop it. But yeah, anyway, so I don't want to say where I'm at here, so I won't. But basically, I had the opportunity to address him. Well, actually, it's going to be obvious in a minute where I'm at. At any rate, and again, this is at a time where I wasn't raised in the church, so I knew pretty much nothing about it, to be frank. Pretty much nothing. And so I went to this is seminary. I'm going to tell you, this was a seminary. This is my first introduction to seminary and in formation. And I learned a lot there. I mean, I am ashamed of what I didn't know, pearls amongst swine. But in all fairness to me, in the same breath, from where I was to where I am now, I have learned a lot. I just didn't make the most of it like I should have. I should have learned a lot more than I have, but shoulda, coulda. God have mercy on my soul. But yeah, and so again, as someone who didn't know anything about the faith, I came at it like a Westerner, like a Protestant in essence. And so it's like I heard, hey, the patriarch is coming, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, who's the patriarch? I didn't even know what that meant. So back then, Google was new, and I did my little Google search. You can imagine what that yielded. Google, again, www equals 666 in Hebrew. Back then, you went to Google and you typed in Minnie Mouse, and you got mini porn. FYI. Yeah, and so I found out, okay, well, he lives in this place called Fanar, according to these articles I'm finding online, and these Turks are bombing this place, and I'm like, okay, and so he's on a trip now to reach out to, I can't remember who the president was back then. At any rate, he's to reach out to talk to the president, and to me, without reading it, I'm like, okay, he's here to talk to the president to ask for help. What is up with this guy? Is he Christian or not? Man up, man. Be a martyr. That was my attitude, right? It's kind of maybe not so ironic that here I am now facing a slow death of starvation in the cold. And there's a lot to say about that. So yeah, I came at him like that. I printed out these little things. I started throwing down his Bible quotes because, like a Westerner Protestant, at that point, I'm like a Bible only. I'm not Bible only, but in essence, I'm like, I got my Bible quotes in hand. I'm a Bible thumper. I'm ready to go to war. Woo, let's go. And so I'm coming at this guy. And, well, you can see the rest for yourself. Here we go.
Please is an accountable pattern. You absolutely free. Place yourselves.
Christ suggests that you shouldn't remain stationary and hope for the best when the situation becomes unavoidably fatal. He also tells us to avoid confrontation. If your enemy desires from you your garments, then you should offer also your undergarments. The Roman Empire maintained its stronghold on the citizens. Okay, yeah, so there you go. Saved by the bell. I mean, I'll just go ahead and leave it at that. I just want to mention, I don't know if he caught that or not. Let me put myself big here because you're looking at nothing now. Thanks, YouTube. Yeah, we've really got to hold YouTube accountable here. Class action. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, basically, I don't know if you caught that or not, but I'm reading Bible quotes to this guy. Arguably, one of the holier people you'll meet. And I'll get to that in a minute, this Green Bishop thing. But before I do that, at that point, as I said, I came at him with absolute confrontation, using Bible quotes to do it. Completely condescending, absolutely the wrong attitude, no matter who you're talking to. And that's the problem with that. We'll talk about that more Wednesday. Sin Takes a Holiday, the watch party for that Wednesday. Same bad time, same bad channel. Make sure you tune in for that one. Now it's going to be dynamic too. I just asked this guy, why doesn't he take off his underwear and give it to his enemy? That's not even biblical. I mean, does it get more condescending than that? But that's how Protestants, and when I'm dealing with Orthodox, I tend myself, or I have been historically, I would put myself in the category of Protestant because I knew the modality in which I approach people. It wasn't to be condescending towards Protestants. It's just for full disclosure, kind of to warn them, hey, I'm coming at you with the Bible and a lot of accusations. So buckle up. Yeah, I mean, it gets pretty bad. I mean, it gets really, really bad, actually. So let me see if I can fix this. Give me 1 minute, folks. While I'm doing that, let me play this annoying little video. Speaking of being annoying. Oh, by the way, again, if you've got money, please visit my Patreon so I can renew my subscription by April 8th. I need to raise a couple $100. Whatever you can offer, or at least share my Patreon, please. Thank you. All right, I'm still working this out, but I think I've got it. Give me 1 minute. And really, I should have just taken this as a cue to up sharing here. Okay, but you know what? This is good, actually. Let me go ahead and share the link so you guys can check it out for yourself. And really, this is something that I wanted to share a couple of streams ago, but failed to do it for whatever reason. I click out of a lot of things and so accidentally. So that happens a lot. Oops, accidentally put this in Rumble as well. But here we go. This is from the same video I just shared. Come on. And the link in the chat. So check this out. This is here actually, you know what? Let it speak for itself as well. Here we go. And this is something that I wanted to share during the watch party for Holy Man, if not Leap of Faith, but that was way back. But really for Holy Man, I want to share this, but I forgot. Well, here we are. Better late than never. But here, I just want to point out that God is not confined to a tabernacle. He's not confined to someone's King James Bible. He's not confined to an Orthodox altar even. He may be present in these things to some degree, but he's not at all confined to these things. So those that want to blaspheme the Holy Spirit, simply put, well, on to you. I mean, playing with the fire there, no pun intended. But what you're witnessing here, as you saw in the text, this is an Orthodox Christian priest who's as someone with faith approach him for healing. There's different places in Greece that have these different events. For example, in the Holy Land in Jerusalem, you may have heard of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Every year, and it's coming up now for Pascha. Every year they have the holy light, the holy fire, and you'll see how that's miraculous too. People from around the world go there, so not everyone gets to go see it, be part of it. But basically, this holy sepulchre, because of Jewish rule, it's in Jerusalem, is state of Israel, established by the UK and US. Turks, Muslim Turks, have control, have say-so over what happens of the Christian Holy Sepulchre. Now, you make of this what you want, but I've seen people with this affliction before. It's hard for me to, as a skeptic myself, it's hard for me to watch this video and say this is a fake.
Per πατάει μας στο νοσοκομείο, per πατάει. Είμαστε στο νοσοκομείο, per πατάει. Δεν το πιστεύω.
Yeah. Excuse me. I gotta say, I've watched that a few times. I can't help but get emotional every time I watch it. Please forgive me. But good, if Hayden were here, he could jump in right now. All right, so, excuse me. Yeah, so basically, I just want to point out a couple of things here. It was fortuitous that I had that tech issue, and we saw this clip today. That was not planned. It just so happens that because of the tech issue, thanks to YouTube, and again, an evil thing, a stumbling stone turning into a stepping stone there, maybe by the grace of God here, it jumped ahead to where I had it previously saved for the last viewing of Miracle Man, where I wanted to share this video. So it just so happened to jump there. So no, we just watched it. which is fortuitous. It was good timing because I was wagging my tongue about the faith. But I think it's important that you understand a message that I wanted to share today, but no better way than what this incidental thing just happened here, sharing this miracle with you guys. So you should know a couple of things here. The hymnology, the singing that you heard. No, Islam did not invent hymnology of the East. And quite the opposite, just like everything else, they stole it and desecrated it. Number one. And there's some Protestants out there that are trying to argue otherwise. Not many. But, the evil ones, the ones that foam at the mouth at the idea that Christianity can be Greek or Greece can be Christian, those hypocritical anti-Christian bigots. They need to shut their mouths and stop misinforming people. Titus 1, shut your mouth. If those who are Bible only, read Titus 1. It's scrolling on the bottom as we speak. It just so happens that wasn't planned either. All right, so the hymnology there is Christian, early Christian. The other thing I need to point out here is the people there, they weren't actually Greek, even though they were speaking Greek. I could tell by their accents that they were probably gypsies, and I might throw off some alarms there. Anyone who knows anything about gypsies, they tend to be scammers. And so, okay, well, this has got to be a scam. You judge for yourself. But if you're going to be that cold-hearted, that hardened heart, then I don't know what to do for you. Those of us who interact with miracles of God know miracles are real, number one. Anyone who just watched this video and still has a hardened heart, I don't know what to say for you. God have mercy on your soul. Pray. Let's pray for them. And I mean, get your list. Let's pray for them. Yeah, and so again, that's fortuitous. That actually interrupted my wagging the tongue about the green bishop. But now let's get back to that. Now that we've witnessed what the faith truly is, let's address the issues that are at hand. Worldwide, during the lockdown, people denounced their faith. Christians worldwide, different organizations, different Christian entities. Unfortunately, many Orthodox were of that. The Green Patriarch, the Green Bishop, who is under Turkish yoke, just like the Holy Sepulchre is placed by the Jews under Turkish yoke, and every year we have to beg permission from Muslim Turks to go into our own sanctuary, one of the most sacred places you can go to do our ritual for Pascha. This blessing, this light where, people go there who have the faith, they will literally take this fire, this holy fire, and put it to their faces, their hands, and do not get burned. It's not a parlor trick. Those are the people that have the faith to do it. To be honest with you, at this point in my life, maybe before I would have had the faith, but now at this point in my life, I don't know. God forgive me, I don't know. I would love to say I do have the faith myself, but I don't know. But the green, we talked about orange. Traditionally, this was associated with this Protestant thing, orange, for William of Orange. But now it somehow became green. I don't know how it became green. I don't know. It also became secular. To this day, the Orthodox still commemorate St. Patrick. How do they do that? With the liturgy, through prayer, through hymnology that you just heard, through the faith and miracles you just encountered. Communion. What is that? The body and blood of Christ. Some will argue that's just a metaphor, like Muslim. It's just a metaphor. It kills me. To me, it's not only sickening, but it's heartbreaking too, to be so far gone from God's grace. And God's grace is not, an act of. It's not a construct. It's not a theory. It's not a thing of forgiveness. Mercy. God's mercy is a thing of forgiveness. You're confusing mercy with grace. Those of you who are doing that, please stop that too. But to be so removed from God's grace that you can't have a taste of it, you can't partake, it's heartbreaking. But that's what the secular West has done. It's taken St. Patrick, this amazing story of a man, early church, going to a pagan island and converting these brutal pagans. These Druids are brutal. It doesn't get much more demonic than Druids. Yet, converted his own home, made it a Christian nation. And somehow we've taken that holiday, that commemoration, and we made it about getting plastered. About green. What is it? Emerald green? Alchemist tablet green? What is that? Why green? People, we need to get back to the faith. Now, Orthodoxy, if you're leaving Protestantism or Catholicism, or atheism, whatever the case may be, to become Orthodox, don't do it because you're trying to find something better. In other words, don't do it because you're trying to leave something bad, and therefore, well, Orthodox is. A lot of people do that. I guess to some degree it's okay, but if you're going to do that, you better be an adult about it and know that Orthodoxy has its problems, and I'm speaking about one of them. It's a major problem. It's not a small problem, and it's a very what we call human problem. This whole jurisdictional thing. Now, the patriarch has been under Turkish, Ottoman, Muslim yoke for centuries. And at the end of World War II, instead of giving Constantinople back to the Christians, back to the Greeks, if I may say that the Greeks are Christian, have been Christian for 2,000 years, if you allow me that, instead of giving Constantinople back to the Greeks, the Christians, they gave it to the Turks. They gave control of the straits to the Turks, their opium business partners. And instead, they established the state of Israel, that abomination. And what do? They slander Greeks. They slander Christians. We have Henry Kissinger, the Jew, saying we should undermine Greeks in their faith, their culture. We see mass media nonstop slandering Greeks. Why? What have Greeks done to you? But okay, enough about that. This is about St. Patrick's Day. This is my point. We have gone so far away from the truth, and it's these demonic, crafty influences, wolves in sheep's clothing, that are a big part of the problem. During the lockdown, that got exposed. So what do you do? Where do you go if you can't trust the Green Bishop, who also said, follow the law? Now you can argue why he said that all you want. As clever as a serpent, as harmless as a dove. Maybe he was abiding by the law in order to survive. Some people might argue that. That makes me sick. Worldwide, that was our opportunity as Christians to push back on the oppression. Most failed to do so, and some ordered those beneath them, they were in charge of, to abide by fascist law, fascist dictates. So what am I going on about this? Thanks to the UK and US, this Ottoman yoke patriarch, who they call Greek. Greeks, by the way, well, many Greeks. It's divided. But Greeks in Greece, they call him a Turk. And when I first heard that, I was so offended. I get it now. By the way, the next patriarch has to be of Turkish descent. He has to be born in Turkey. He's got to be full-blooded Turk. Why? It's not the patriarch saying that. It's the Turks saying that. They are dictating what's going on with the patriarchy for centuries now. That's not a Greek problem. That's a US, UK, Turkish, Muslim problem. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself, to be frank. It disgusts me. And so they blasphemed Koinonia, communion, the body of Christ. They said, shut the churches, even for Pascha. And in Greece, and I was in Greece, the second biggest city, even though there was dictates, there was a curfew for Pascha, for Easter, for the holiest day of the year. I know in the West we think it's Christmas because of Santa Claus. No, it's Pascha, the resurrection. We don't celebrate the crucifixion. We celebrate the resurrection, by the way. And that little hymn at the very end, Christ is risen, that's when we sing it. So today, people are going to get sloshed to celebrate St. Patrick. Are you of this world? What will you be doing? Are you your brother's keeper? Let me challenge you there. In all fairness, let me disclose some more things here. And how much, to give you an idea here, it's not just rhetoric, mass media, how much it influences civilization worldwide. Okay, let me put this on stage. Again, this is just a simple search engine search. But when I type in, well, let me put it this way. Okay. When I type in, as you see here, Orthodox Feast Day for St. Patrick 2025, I get the Greek Reporter. What is the Greek Reporter saying? And this is a liberal organization, liberal print, if you will. Icon of St. Patrick, patron saint of Ireland, public domain. St. Patrick may be thought of almost universally as a Roman Catholic figure, but a church in Gravina in northern Greece has always celebrated Ireland's beloved patron saint, while revelers in Irish pubs in Athens, all right, so you get the idea there. Let's check this. The Greek Orthodox Congregation in Geneva celebrates Welsh-born saints' a mission to bring the Gospels to the Irish on the feast day every year. An icon. Okay, you get the idea. Let me move on. You can do your own search there and find out what you want. But I want to share this as well. And a search on Orthodox icon of St. Patrick so I can make my thumbnail for this live stream. What do you find? Notice that all these icons, these are in English. To you, they may not be significant, but I'm quite often, you'll see it in Greek. Here, again, this is St. Patrick. This is Russian. Again, for those of you who speak Russian, and you know what that says, please feel free to correct me. Okay, so you finally get one Russian one. Still all English, 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 English. So these are all Western icons, is what I'm pointing out to you. These are modern Western icons. Blue background. The gold leaf is traditional. Oh, here we go. No, that's English. Okay. Oh, here we go. Nope, that's English. All right. And I'm telling you, we celebrate. Here we go. Finally. Two of them. Blue background, the one I use for my thumbnail. And this one. This one's significant. Let's get a better look at that. So we do have icons, evidently, of St. Patrick in the Orthodox faith. I want you to also pay attention that this too is modern. Notice that not only his garb is pinkish, but his hair is also pinkish, has a pink tint. What is he, like a goth chick or something? So this is quite a 20th century innovation to iconography. Modern churches, or I should say churches with modern iconography in it at least, have this pinkish tint in their iconography. I'm quite bothered by this. To me, as we see now in the 21st century, There may be a reason for that, a crafty reason. What I'm saying is that the Orthodox faith is infiltrated by wolves in sheep's clothing. Do not judge the faith by the deviants. By definition, deviants are deviants. They are the exception to the rule. These wolves in sheep's clothing are deviants. They are the exception to the rule. They are what Christ warned about. And these very much feels like we're at least approaching the end of times here. Very much, exponentially so. Could be wrong, but it feels like that. So my point is this. You saw the miracle. I hope you saw the miracle. I hope in your hearts you're acknowledging it. But you're also being warned. The grass is not greener. I want people to come to the faith. I want to share the richness, the fullness of the faith, the original Christian church as it has been preserved. But as I'm showing you here, there's some infiltration. It's the Turkish Green Bishop of Constantinople, Istanbul, that you call Greek, and so on. It's the Russian Orthodox that like to come into Greek institutions, like a Greek seminary that I just shared with you, and go on and on yelling at people that they still speak Greek. The language, not only the liturgics are written in, but the Bible is written in for you Bible-only people. The Russians are coming in and are upset that Greek is being used in a Greek institution. How do you rationalize that? How do you say that behavior is Christian at any level? You Ruskies, shame on you. Puh, I spit on Roker. I spit especially on OCA, a.k.a. the KKK. They're the worst, the OCA. Any jurisdiction will tell you that. What is that? That's the Orthodox Church in America. They don't have the credit to say of. They're going to say in America as if no other jurisdiction, no other peoples exists in America. They're the worst. And they too have Russian roots, originally Russian. There's a lot of problems, even in Orthodoxy. What I'm telling you here is use discernment. Don't throw out the baby with the bath water, or in this case, the baptismal water. Yeah. The faith is still the faith. Just be mindful. And I'd be happy to share my faith with you. Unfortunately, I'm not the person to do it. I don't know enough about Orthodox, unfortunately, despite all that formation. I can share some things, but as I mentioned before, I'm at a camp counselor level, give or take. It's unfortunate. Pearls amongst my head had opportunity to learn the original, speaking of Greek, the original Greek and all these things, access to original documents. I was asked by an organization to help them with translations. Didn't feel qualified, I backed off. I could have put my nose to the grindstone and learned it. So many blown opportunities. Lord have mercy. Instead, I'm here with you good folks, those that are still willing to tolerate me, talking about St. Patrick's Day and why it's been converted from a sacred holiday to something that's, well, a desecration, an abomination. Happy St. Patrick's Day? I don't know. All right, guys. I'm gonna leave it at that. I think you guys have heard plenty from my monologue here. But again, the link was in the chat to come up. Correct me. We still have a couple of moments to do that. Please feel free. But that being said, this too should come to pass. Matthew 24. Blessed are those who endure to the end. You've got to keep your nous. You got to keep your relationship with God and koinonia. Take care of each other, which includes communion, by the way. Koinonia also entails communion, the Eucharist, the blood and body of Christ. Don't desecrate that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. By the way, let me make this public. Well, maybe I shouldn't. I'm slandering my tongue. But yeah, I'll say this much. About a month ago, I saw something, and I don't watch your channels. It just happens, for whatever reason, that day, I stumbled onto his channel again, his stream, and all right, I have nothing else to do. I'm completely bored. Let's check it out. And I started watching it, and thankfully he hadn't started his typical Zionist propaganda yet. Him, Mutt and Jeff, as I call him. And so, but anyways, that day, I was like, man, there's something up here. I swear I saw a glow. I swear I saw the guy glowing. And you could tell it was palpable. You could tell there's something different about him. And I wanted to make an announcement that day. Hey, you know what? This guy's becoming a Christian officially. Sure enough, a month later, he's talking about a month before he started going to church. And as some of you may know, it's an Orthodox church. Yeah, I'm happy for him. I am happy for him. I mean, he's a good guy. He was always likable. There's something very different about that guy. And that day, to me, seemed like he was a saint, like this illumined thing. Not enlightened. Don't get confused. But I don't know. I don't want to misspeak here. But I'm saying this now. I want to premise what I'm going to say next. This is wagging my tongue, and I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, come back at a future date and do the I told you so thing. But I want to say something about Mutt and Jeff here and their dynamic. I love their show back in the day, but the Zionism got insane, literally insane. Never mind hypocritical and malicious. I mean, one of the latest arguments, I watched his talking about, becoming Christian publicly, so watch that. And, Dr. Dick can't help himself, D. Wood, that sociopath, literally. Or psychopath, I should say, not sociopath, whatever, either way. Yeah, I mean, he's going on and on. Listen to this rationale he's come up with now. Brilliant. Well, when we're talking about Zionism, people, we're not talking about the Jews, the people themselves. Oh, this is great excuse making. Sounds like a Muslim now. Talk about waffle. Oh, it's not. We're not so much about the people here. Secularness. He's got to backtrack now. But Zionism is biblical. I challenge anyone to tell me it's not biblical. Yeah, try Old Testament prophecy. Old Testament prophecy, for starters. How about Jesus Christ? Den of serpents. The list goes on and on and on. The apostolic followers in your Bible, for those who are Bible-only Protestant, in your Bible, what do they say about the Jews? Titus 1. It was scrolling on your bottom. Exhort. Okay, all right. For a bishop must be blameless as the steward of God. That's a tall order, be blameless. But keep that in mind what that means. Not self-willed, not egoist. Hello? Not soon angry. I'm not soon angry. I'm not quick to get angry. I go through a lot before I sound like this. Not given to wine, no striker, neither. Not given a filthy lucre, not about the money. But a lover of hospitality, a lover of good men, sober, just, holy, temperate. Okay, maybe not temperate. Holding fast the faithful word as he hath been taught, that he may be able to, by sound doctrine, both to exhort and to convince the gainsayers, especially those of the circumcision, who destroy houses for filthy lucre's sake, those gainsayers. Anyway, so the rationale, it's not about the Jews, it's it's a biblical. No, it's not. You got it backward. You're being selective. You're being disingenuous, but maybe selective. Maybe you're ignorant. I don't know. I mean, maybe you're whatever, but it's wrong. All wrong. It's like saying, the Kaaba, it's not about the Muslims. It's not about. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? Anyway, let's get back to AP, something more pleasant to talk about. Yeah, I mean, I love the guy. I fear, though, because of, here's the thing. What I loved about their show, I imagine what everyone else loves, or most people, is that they have such a wonderful dynamic. Back then, as an atheist and D. Wood as the expert on theology, self-proclaimed. Yeah, I mean, basically, they had this dynamic is back and forth. They were picking on each other, but they could say things to each other, not only because they were friends and they knew each other, but what they were saying was untrue. Basically, like, oh, your nose is big kind of stuff, you know? I mean, I'm not saying that literally, but as an example, they were saying things that were not true, and so they can laugh about it. But now that dynamic has changed because AP has become Christian, but Orthodox Christian. Uh-oh. That's a problem for some. That's a problem for some. And that's going to come, that's going to sift out. What I've been saying here for some weeks, months now, is now you're going to witness that. And I could be wrong. Again, if I'm wrong, come back here and say, aha, you're wrong. I'll welcome it. But I suspect because the dynamic has changed, that back and forth that they're used to doing is now going to be a problem. Why? Because before it was about unrealistic things, you could take shots at each other and laugh at it because it's not real. But now, if you take a shot to someone's faith, well, we got a problem. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they managed to work it out. I hope D. Wood, Dr. Dick, softens up. And maybe this will be opportunity to get him to wake up too, to bring him to the faith. Not that I'm trying to make everyone Orthodox, but he has said some things that, I mean, he's generally more on the Ecumenist side, more, you know, okay, whatever. But we're seeing here he's not so much. But yeah, maybe like AP's wife. AP's wife had love and patience. Our last guest, Yusuf, talked about the same thing. His wife, love and patience, and therefore they came to the faith. Now, for him, his Christianity is not necessarily Orthodox. I'm talking about Yusuf. But you know, maybe this will be different. Maybe it won't end in conflict. But if it ends in conflict, remember I'm using this as an example in advance, the problem that I faced for about 3 years now. The one I was willing to overlook up until recently, very, very recently, when someone who I admired kept pointing out these things to me like, oh yeah, duh, what did I, all my life make excuses? Up until recently, I was an apologist for Protestantism too. Why am I making all these excuses for Baptists who were treating me like dirt? Up until recently. He had to point out to me, no, Nick, they're Baptists. This is what they really believed. And the light went on. Done, of course. And I sound like an idiot now to some people because that's a trope for Baptists, unfortunately. But yeah, up until recently, I'm like, okay, yeah, well, no. It just seems that way. They're not really, that's not really in their heart. When all I had to do was judge them by their fruits. Anyways, I don't mean to be picking on Baptists. That's not the point. The point is, there's a lot of sickness, there's a lot of illness in the faith, in Christianity at large. And that includes in Orthodoxy. St. Patrick's Day is a perfect example of that. A completely wonderful religious person, holiday, bastardized, desecrated, to be this pagan, green, drunken holiday. Secular doesn't cover it. It's a shame. The same is true with the faith. We saw it in the lockdown. In Orthodoxy, the Green Bishop, again, Turkish run Constantinople, or I should say Istanbul at this point, for 5 centuries now, because the West refused to liberate it, but rather built the state of Israel instead. Israel is a people, not a territory. The Jews did get the promised land, but they pissed all over God and they killed their Messiah. That is in prophecy. Their prophecy. Now, the rabbinic Jews do things like suck off little babies that they just snipped, suck the blood off their penises. That's how far removed they are from God. It's disturbing. I'm not making this up. Look it up for yourself. Lord have mercy. All right, that's all I've gone on. I'm going to cover this again Wednesday. Yusuf is going to make a visit again Saturday if I haven't alienated him by this stream or the one coming Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that. We'll be talking about bricks, and maybe we'll have another guest for that as well, an expert on anime. I knew one myself. I had him on my channel before, but I've lost touch with him since then, unfortunately. But either way, if someone's an expert on anime and wants to address that, that'd be great. I'll welcome that. I'm not an expert myself. I liked it when I was young. I liked the anime cartoons, ones you might not even be familiar with. But yeah, I've since had some experiences with the Magic, the Gathering game, and things like that. And right after that, Pokemon became popular. And since then, my eyes have been open when it comes to anime and slash manga, which was not so much a big thing when I was young. At any rate, so yeah, come in for that. The following week, I'm not sure what I'll be doing yet, but I'm doing my best to make the most of this subscription while I still have it. Like about 2.5 weeks. Again, April 8th. The subscription will end. Let me make sure. Let me go ahead and share that link again. Again, my apologies for shilling, but if you have like I don't know, what is it, $7? That's the low tier. $20, the middle tier. $50 if you're feeling super generous. I'm trying to raise $200 to keep this live streaming going. So if you can't, then please at least share my Patreon with others. I'd greatly appreciate it. But yeah, I'm trying to do things every day. Monday, on every day, as in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Or Friday or Saturday, one of the 2 days. That will be an every day for me. Every other day, basically, up until the 8th. So I'll be doing. That's the plan. I'm not committing to anything except for the watch parties on Wednesdays, for the record. But again, this Wednesday, Sin takes a holiday. We'll be talking about more theological things, and then the whole Is Bricks taking over with Yusuf and potentially another guest, an expert in anime, on Saturday. Same bad time, same bad channel. Yeah, thanks for being here. And again, keep centered on Christ. Keep your noose and partake in koinonia. Take care of each other. What all the law hangs upon, the greatest of the commandments. God bless you all. Love you all. Keep on keeping on.
We will face.
I shouldn't be up here.
News for the first time ever anywhere.
And very evidently so.
How dare you?
Weird. I'm so sorry to my world. I'm so sorry to my world. This is not what we want.